Quality care right here, right now. Click on our icon on DeWittDailyNews.com.
DeWittDailyNews.com is the area's leading local news source 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the latest local news, obituaries, police splatter, weather forecast, and more with no paywall. Head to DeWittDailyNews.com to get the local information you need to know.
From the Heart Media Group newsroom and DeWittDailyNews.com, I'm Ben Hubbard with this expanded morning newscast. Good morning and thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Ben Hubbard. You're listening to the WHOW Morning Show. With hungry kids at home for the year and air conditioners working overtime, summer budgets can get tight quickly. Connie Miller with the DeWitt Savings Bank indicates that the summer brings a lot of extra expenses like childcare, higher energy costs, and bigger bills at the grocery store.
Yes. Well, hopefully people have thought a little bit about this before the summer starts. I know a lot of parents have issues with childcare. That's an extra expense that they might not have had during the school year. So that's always something they have to budget. But also things increase like your food budget. You have kids home from school now and they have lunch and breakfast as well that you have to feed them. So those are some of the things that just add to your expenses for the summer. Higher energy costs too, air conditioning and trips in the car, things like that. And unfortunately, it's the reality. The good thing is I'm seeing things go down in price now, especially at the grocery store. And I just saw the gas prices going down. But like we said before, sometimes it takes planning. So, you don't have to take your kids to the pool every day, but maybe plan a special day to go to the pool. We do a lot of grouping our errands, like where we're going to go all in one big circle so we don't have to go back and forth. So it takes planning, but also shop the sales at the grocery store. I was in several grocery stores this past week and watermelon was all under $5. That's way cheaper than doing like strawberries or something for your kids. A big, huge watermelon for $5 could feed your kids for a few days.
Miller says making a plan should always be the first step when it comes to getting your finances under control. She points to eating out rather than at home as a big spending place for people that can be avoided.
First of all, make a plan. So a lot of times we let life happen to us instead of planning for life. So if my kids are doing softball or baseball, when the games are, you have a schedule, you can put together a meal plan. Like I had a friend who didn't cook and spent a lot of money eating out. And we went over to their house and just showed them how to use a grill. And they're saving thousands of dollars. We know on Wednesday nights we have a game. On Friday we have a game. When can I cook dinner? On those nights that we're not at home, we don't have to go through a drive-through. We can make sandwiches that morning and have them in a cooler and ready to go. Buy a case of Gatorade and have it at home instead of running into Casey's, because 9 times out of 10, when you run into Casey's, it's not just that Gatorade, you get something else. So have healthy snacks, things like that already pre-packed. Invest in a good cooler so you don't have to worry about food spoiling if you have to keep it in the car, things like that. But really make a plan and look in a budget. Like this is how much money we have for these different things like food, transportation, clothing. Start saving now for back to school a little bit as you go. If your kids are going to be in a sport where there's a registration fee, factor that in your budget. So it's not oh my gosh, how are we going to come up with this the day that the money's due?
For those student athletes in need of equipment, Miller recommends asking your community members, thrifting, or checking Facebook Marketplace before buying brand new. Asking guests to bring dishes or other items to get together this summer is also a great way to save money.
And 9 times out of 10, when your kids are in sports too, they need equipment. And a lot of people go out and buy brand new equipment. And there's probably somebody you know that outgrew their cleats that they barely wore the season before, or their baseball pants. So there's ways to save money. Absolutely, in on Marketplace too. You can find just about anything that you need on Marketplace, like patio furniture, a grill, anything that you want for summer fun. And, those family get-togethers, or, instead of going out to dinner, you can grill hot dogs and hamburgers. Have your friends bring over a side dish. It's a lot of fun. Also, like, free entertainment. You don't have to go to Disney World. I mean, they say it costs over $6,000 now for a family to go to Disney World. But there's so many fun things to do for free around here. Celebrate America. I think it was called Clinton Celebrates America. I just saw the tentative schedule. My gosh, it's all free. They're going to have the bank is sponsoring a climbing wall that Saturday. There's a parade. There's bands. There's all these games. I mean, it's all free. That's a great way to celebrate and have fun with your family. And they even have like snow cones and cotton candy for free. So those are some things that you might want to consider. And it's okay to say no to your kids sometimes too.
Miller suggests beginning to save for back-to-school season now before the expensive trips to the store to get clothes and school supplies. This is another great time to go thrifting or ask around in your community for hand-me-downs.
Also, for back to school, I would say start saving now. But remember, school starts in the middle of summer. They don't need a new wardrobe on, August 10th. It's still summer. And so I see people buying clothes that probably won't fit their kids when it gets cold. So maybe wait, go through right now, they just got out of school, go through their school supplies, see if there's something you can save for next year. I started saving their paints and their crayons because I'm like, they barely use these. So we just recycled a lot of stuff, saved hundreds of dollars. And and even going back to school shopping clothes. If you know someone the kids are a little bigger than yours, that might be somebody to reach out to and say, hey, I would like to buy your clothes, go through them before you get rid of them. And most people will just be like, just take them. They just want them off their hands, or go to a resale shop, and find clothes there. It's a great way to do that.
We'll have more with Miller in the weeks ahead from the Heart Media Group on the latest ways scammers are trying to fool you out of your money and how you can avoid it. Learn more by finding the DeWitt Savings Bank on Facebook. Get news anytime from your computer or your mobile device, all free, all the time at DeWittDailyNews.com.
MR Systems Wireless is your local internet provider for Clinton and surrounding area. They have the products you want and the local service you deserve. MR Systems Wireless Internet service for home or business includes unlimited data, unlimited streaming, and unlimited calling. Plans start at just $48 a month and get a free Roku 4 lease with our media packages. Get the speed you need with MR Systems Wireless. Call them at 935-2100. That's 935-2100 for MR Systems Wireless.
SIU Center for Family Medicine is here to help with back to school and sports physicals. Healthy kids learn better and play harder. Call 217-735-2317 today to schedule your appointment. That's 217-735-2317. SIU Medicine, forward for you.
DeWittDailyNews.com is the area's leading local news source 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the latest local news, obituaries, police blotter, weather forecast, and more with no paywall. Head to DeWittDailyNews.com to get the local information you need to know.
From the Heart Media Group Sports Desk, IL Sports Wire, and DeWittDailyNews.com, I'm Ben Hubbard with this local sports report. In a game heard on WHOW, Colson Montgomery, Sam Antonacci, and Chase Maydroth homered in Chicago's 6-run 6th inning, and the Chicago White Sox held on to top the Los Angeles Dodgers 6-4 on Sunday.
One day after Yoshinobu Yamamoto flirted with a perfect game, it seemed like the White Sox bats were still fast asleep Sunday afternoon, but the Southsider Sticks awoke from their slumber in the bottom of the 6th when the good guys played at 6, homering 3 times in that inning, including the first time Sam Antonacci actually left the yard.
Gets the sign. His 0-2 is hit in the air out into right. This is a game-tying homer. And on the very next pitch, he just hit one 415 feet.
White Sox take the series from the 2-time defending champion Dodgers and now head to New York to take on the Yankees on Tuesday night. I'm Jeff Meller, and I'll have your pregame coverage starting at 5:30 on the ESPN 1000 Hard Rock Casino White Sox Network.
The Sox kick off a midweek series with the New York Yankees on Tuesday. Pregame starts at 5:30 p.m. on WHOW. Ryan Kreidler's RBI double off the center field wall in the 8th inning scored Luke Keeschall and completed the Minnesota Twins comeback in a 5-4 win against the St. Louis Cardinals on Sunday. Kreidler had a pinch hit single and scored the tying run in the 7th for Minnesota, which took 2 of 3 games in the series. Victor Caratini hit a 2-run homer for the Twins in the 4th. Andrew Morris is 2-2 and pitched a scoreless inning of relief, striking out 3 of the 4 batters he faced. Yoendris Gomez earned his 6th save of the season and 5th with the Twins. Kreidler made a diving stop and throw from shortstop in the 9th to get Jose Fermin at first after a successful replay challenge by Minnesota manager Derek Shelton. Byron Buxton had 3 hits for the Twins and drove in a run during the 7th inning rally. St. Louis reliever George Soriano is 3-1 and gave up 1 run and 3 hits in 1 2/3 innings. He allowed the tying run to score in the 7th after inheriting a bases-loaded jam from Jojo Romero with 1 out. J.J. Weatherholt and Alec Burleson homered for the Cardinals. Michael McGreevy allowed 2 runs in 6 innings. McGreevy has given up 2 runs or fewer 10 times in 14 starts this season, but hasn't won since May 8th. Weatherholt had a 2-run homer, his 10th of the year, and an RBI single. Burleson opened the scoring with his 13th home run of the season in the 4th. He homered in 5 of his past 6 games and has a career-high 14-game hitting streak. The Cardinals return home for a 3-game series with San Diego. Right-hander Dustin May is 4-6 with a 4.21 ERA and gets the start Monday for St. Louis, while the Padres have not announced a scheduled starter. Twins right-hander Mike Paredes is 0-0 with a 4.35 ERA and makes his 2nd major league start Monday in Texas against lefty Mackenzie Gore, who's 4-5 with a 4.18 ERA and the Rangers. Logan Webb and Caleb Killian combined on a 7-hitter, and the San Francisco Giants beat the Chicago Cubs 5-1 on Sunday to avoid a series sweep. Matt Chapman homered and drove in 2 runs to help the Giants finish a 2-4 homestand. Jung-Hoo Lee added 2 hits. Webb is 4-4 and allowed 7 hits in 8 innings without a walk, matched his season high of 7 strikeouts, and pitched out of jams with runners in scoring position in 3 of the first 5 innings. Webb has pitched at least 7 innings and allowed 1 run or fewer in each of his past 3 starts. Killian retired all 3 batters he faced in the 9th. The Giants' offense did just enough to avoid being swept by the Cubs in San Francisco for the first time since 2013. Lee singled in the 5th, advanced to second on a sacrifice bunt, and then scored on Drew Gilbert's RBI double. Chapman followed with his 7th home run of the season. San Francisco added a run in the 7th on Bryce Eldridge's RBI single. The Giants' rookie Eldridge has reached base in 20 consecutive games, the longest streak by a Giants player since Matt Duffy's 20-game stretch in 2015. Pete Crow Armstrong had 2 hits for the Cubs, who scored an unearned run in the 8th. Cubs reliever Colin Rea is 5-5, who followed opener Ryan Rollison after just 11 pitches, allowed 4 runs on 4 2/3 innings. Cubs lefty Shoto Imanaga is 4-6 with a 4.44 ERA and is expected to start Monday night against Colorado right-hander Michael Lorenz, who is 2-8 with a 7.54 ERA. Giants right-hander Adrian Hauser is 2-6 with a 5.54 ERA and will face Atlanta righty Grant Holmes, who is 4-2 with a 4.05 ERA on Tuesday. In scores from around the MLB yesterday, the Miami Marlins beat the Pittsburgh Pirates 4-2. while the San Diego Padres took down the Baltimore Orioles 5-2. The Washington Nationals routed the Seattle Mariners 10-1, and the Toronto Blue Jays fell to the New York Yankees 8-3. The Arizona Diamondbacks beat the Cincinnati Reds 5-3, while the New York Mets took down the Atlanta Braves 8-1. The Kansas City Royals shut out the Houston Astros 4-0, while with the same shutout 4-0, the Milwaukee Brewers beat the Philadelphia Phillies. The Colorado Rockies routed the Athletics 23-9 in a very high-scoring game, while the Tampa Bay Rays beat the Los Angeles Angels 8-3, and the Texas Rangers took down the Boston Red Sox 6-4. The Carolina Hurricanes held the Vegas Golden Knights to 5 total goals in Games 4 and 5 and used a suffocating defense in a 3-0 shutout Sunday night in Game 6 to win their first championship in 20 years. Brandon Bussi, whose entrance late in Game 3 helped turn around the series, had his first career playoff shutout in stopping 22 shots. Jackson Blake had a goal and an assist, and Taylor Hall scored just 3 minutes and 47 seconds into the game to set the tone. Nikola Ehlers added an empty netter. The Golden Knights struggled badly to muster any kind of offense in Game 6 and went 18 minutes and 37 seconds between shots on goal in the second and third periods. Playing in their third cup final, this is the first time they have been shut out. This was the first game of the series in which Vegas goalie Carter Hart didn't allow 4 goals in a game. He finished with 20 saves. The Hurricanes got it done against the Golden Knights team that was on a heater after John Tortorella replaced Bruce Cassidy with 8 games left in the regular season. Vegas then went from third place in the Pacific Division to first, knocked off Utah and Anaheim with 6 games apiece in the playoffs, and shockingly swept President's Trophy winner Colorado to win the West. In high school baseball state championship scores from Saturday, in Class 1A for the third place game, North Clay shut out Route 10-0. And for the Class 1A championship, Tremont routed Putnam County 10-0. In Class 2A for third place, Ottawa Marquette beat Freeburg 4-1. And the Class 2A championship, St. Joseph Ogden rolled Harvest Westminster 15-1. In Class 3A for third place, East Peoria beat Crystal Lake South 7-6. While for the Class 3A championship, St. Rita beat Triad 12-11 in 8 innings. In Class 4A for third place, Chicago Mount Carmel beat Naperville Central 11-2. While for the Class 4A championship, Libertyville beat Maine South 7-6 in 8 innings. For the first time in 53 years, New York rules the NBA. Jalen Brunson scored 45 points, including 13 straight for New York in the fourth quarter, and the Knicks beat the San Antonio Spurs 94-90 in Game 5 of the NBA Finals on Saturday night. The Knicks won the series 4-1, rallying from double-digit deficits in all 4 of those victories. The deficit was 16 on Saturday night. Brunson and the Knicks were never fazed. Mikal Bridges and Josh Hart combined to score 27 points. Bridges had 14, Hart had 13. Dylan Harper scored 25 for the Spurs, who got 19 points, 14 rebounds, and 5 block shots from Victor Wembanyama. The game followed the same script in the opening minutes as all the others in the series, with the Spurs taking double-digit leads in the first quarter and then frittering most of the way in the second quarter. The Knicks simply could not make a shot, missing on 16 of their first 18 tries and each of their first 11 two-point attempts. There even was a point in the second quarter when Wembanyama had more blocked shots with 5 than the Knicks had made shots with 4. San Antonio's lead was as many as 10 in the first quarter and as many as 16 in the second. A 22-9 run in the second quarter got New York within 3 before Devin Vassell scored just before the halftime buzzer to give San Antonio a 42-37 edge at the break. And that capped an opening 24 minutes of either offensive ineptitude or defensive prowess, depending on perspective. The 79 combined points in the first half were the lowest in a finals game since Game 7 of Lakers-Celtics in 2010. And the combined 31.8% field goal shooting by the Knicks and Spurs was the lowest in the first half of a finals game in the play-by-play era. Get highlights of your local high school program by finding IL SportsWire on your preferred social media platforms, and get local sports anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com.
DeWittDailyNews.com is the area's leading local news source 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the latest local news, obituaries, police blotter, weather forecast, and more with no paywall. Head to DeWittDailyNews.com to get the local information you need to know.
Netflix buffering, YouTube spinning, devices not connecting, Zoom calls dropping. Ugh, it's frustrating. Let's end your frustration by signing up for fiber internet in Clinton. Click the Connexus icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
WEZC, your easy choice, 95.9 FM, is the voice of the Monticello Sages. Also streamed and archived at DeWittDailyNews.com. Hear live play-by-play football, boys and girls basketball, baseball, and softball all season long. And a best of broadcast every Saturday at noon. All brought to you by Kirby Medical Center, First Mid, and Stewart Family Hardware, all in Monticello.
It's never too early to start thinking about back-to-school preparations. Part of getting your kids ready for the new school year means making sure they're healthy. SIU Center for Family Medicine is here to help with back-to-school and sports physicals. Healthy kids learn better and play harder. Call 217-735-2317 today to schedule your appointment. That's 217-735-2317. SIU Medicine. Forward for you.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. The commander-in-chief is touting a preliminary peace agreement with Iran. It's a deal that President Trump says will result in a full reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, as well as a lifting of the U.S. blockade of Iranian ports. It could be signed Friday. Many details have yet to be revealed, and uncertainty does remain over the future of the Iranian nuclear program. President Trump is on his way to Europe for the G7 summit. Along with the Iran situation, Russia's war on Ukraine will be discussed. Russia has launched another massive attack on its neighbor. Joining a growing list of countries, Britain plans to ban the under-16 crowd from using a range of social media apps. On Wall Street this morning, Dow futures 500 points higher. The Nasdaq futures are up 655 points. More details, srnnews.com.
Maybe this is you too. There's enormous frustration right now with healthcare costs. It is amazing. Healthcare costs for families in the last 20 years have almost tripled, and it just keeps getting worse. All this to say, this is why MediShare is so in demand right now. People are looking for alternatives, and MediShare is proven you can save thousands of dollars a year and actually like it more. Over 1 million Americans are now part of healthcare sharing, and MediShare is the gold standard. It's trusted. It works. It's been helping people save money and have peace of mind now for 30 plus years. It's not some big impersonal thing either. It's a community of people like you helping each other. So yeah, if you're frustrated too, here's your chance to make a refreshing change. You'll notice the difference as soon as you call. They're easy to talk to. You can get a price within 2 minutes. Here is the number. Call 844-45-BIBLE. That's 844-45-BIBLE. 844-45-BIBLE.
From the Heart Media Group newsroom and DeWittDailyNews.com, I'm Ben Hubbard with this local news update. As Central Illinois moves deeper into the summer season, weather officials indicate shifting atmospheric patterns that could bring contrasting temperature and moisture trends over the next 3 months. Ed Shimon with the National Weather Service in Lincoln explains that the official June through August summer outlook shows equal chances for above or below normal seasonal temperatures across the area.
Sure. Yeah. June, July, August, the summer outlook is equal chances for above or below normal temperatures. June's probably going to end up above normal. So we may end up not having as many heat waves probably in the mid to late summer time frame. Hopefully that happens so we won't exacerbate any drought conditions. But precipitation-wise shows equal chances of above or below normal. But below normal is really close by in Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin. So it tells me the storm tracks are going to be a little further south, and we may be getting into some heat with not as much frequent rainfall. So just got to hopefully get enough rain in June to stave off any kind of problems, by midsummer. Because by late August, we usually are drying out into the August, September, fall time frame, setting up, possible drought conditions there. But when I click on July, August, September, we're below normal temperatures. So something is telling me the late part of summer, might not have as much dog days of heat as we head into we add on September into that, late August. So we'll have to see how that pans out. But that's good. Cooler than normal fall temperatures is not a bad thing.
No.
Get some harvest and, without any problem.
The summer precipitation outlook also highlights equal chances of landing above or below seasonal baselines for precipitation, while below normal rainfall trends remain closely pinned to neighboring states like Iowa, Minnesota, and Wisconsin, indicating the primary storm tracks may slide further south.
Yeah, the precip doesn't show above normal in that late summer either. It's equal chances with below normal to the north and south of us. So, we'll have to keep an eye on, and maybe some drought conditions might creep into there. But I think the bulk of the growing season, when the corn is really maturing and starting to produce product, I think if we can get some rain here in June into early July, that'll help tremendously for the yields that'll come out of the fields.
Gotcha.
July, August, September. I don't think I've seen, and we've been looking at these for years. You know that.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen in many, many years, 10 plus years.
Get news anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com.
This is staff meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki with your regional radio forecast. Mainly clear skies today with daytime highs approaching 74. Westerly winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Mainly clear skies tonight, lows dip down to about 55. A mix of clouds and sun tomorrow, storms likely, daytime highs approaching 75. Hear weather twice an hour or online anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com. Currently 66.
Hey, it's Shane from Highway 51 Exchange, your mower and equipment service pros just south of Clinton. Click our banner ad on DeWittDailyNews.com or give us a call to schedule your free pickup and delivery today. Highway 51 Exchange.
Spring brings brighter days and more time to enjoy them. Your home should too. At Hickory Point Garden Homes in Forsyth, enjoy one-story living and walking paths right outside your door. Spend less time on upkeep and more time enjoying spring. To learn more, click our icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
It's never too early to start thinking about back-to-school preparations. Part of getting your kids ready for the new school year means making sure they're healthy. SIU Center for Family Medicine is here to help with back-to-school and sports physicals. Healthy kids learn better and play harder. Call 217-735-2317 today to schedule your appointment. That's 217-735-2317. SIU Medicine. Forward for you.
Insects have reigned since the dawn of time, adapted to their surroundings, experienced the harshest climates and toughest challenges until now. With 2 modes of action, Ridgeback insecticide delivers one devastating outcome for soybean aphids: extinction from your fields. They may have lived through it all, but they won't survive this. End soybean aphids reign at ridgeback.corteva.us.
WEZC, your easy choice, 95.9 FM, is the voice of the Monticello Sages. Also streamed and archived at DeWittDailyNews.com. Hear live play-by-play football, boys and girls basketball, baseball and softball, all season long. And a best of broadcast every Saturday at noon. All brought to you by Kirby Medical Center, First Mid, and Stewart Family Hardware, all in Monticello.
You're listening to a best of segment of the WHOW Morning Show, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Again, this is a best of the WHOW Morning Show.
You're from the Central Illinois, WHOW.
Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Kurt Holman, Executive Director of the DeWitt County Development Council, my guest in studio today. Good to see you, Kurt. How are you this morning? Let me turn on the right microphone there. Sorry about that. How are you today? And now you got to short it. Oh, it's all going sideways. We're not even on. There you go. Try it now.
All right. How's that?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Fantastic. I'm doing good, and it's good to see you.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for coming out and talking. And I don't know how much of your personal life you like out there, but I want to say congratulations. Your son got married over the weekend, and a busy weekend for you, but we really appreciate you coming in bright and early the weekend after.
Absolutely. And, my life is an open book for the most part. So,
sure.
But yeah, my son did get married this weekend. It was a fantastic wedding, and we had a great time, and
good.
We're all worn out from it, that's for sure. But, we're excited for them and for them to start their lives together for sure.
Very good. Very good. Well, let's dive into professional business now. And the DC, Kurt, the talk of the last several weeks, if not months, has been housing, and now a hotel study that has just got a lot of folks talking these days. You mentioned to me off air that you had the hotel study people in town, but let's go back a step and just remind folks what this hotel study is, why it's coming about, how it came about. Give us some of the background as a reminder.
Yep, glad to do that. So the hotel study came about really from input that we received from local business people saying that we needed an additional hotel option in the community. So it's a lengthy process to get done. So we started making some contacts, and through some potential developers. Clinton was the primary spot on that, but we found some interest in from additional investors or different investors for Farmer City area. And of course, investors, they can put properties anywhere they want to. A key aspect of that for lending purposes and to make sure that it makes sense for investors is to have a hotel study done. So that's really the point that we're at now. That hotel study is taking place. They were in town a week-ish ago. And we went through both Clinton, Farmer City, drove by the lake area, and some of the things that would be important for the hotel study folks to see. So it's really interesting, actually, some of the feedback that they gave me, and maybe some of the outside comments as to why a hotel would work and or not work, and what some of the benefits and attractions are in DeWitt County, maybe that didn't even have anything to do with the hotel.
We will. You mentioned to me off air. We'll get the results of this study at a later date. But I'm just kind of curious. What were some of the surface level impressions of will Clinton, will Farmer City, will DeWitt County work for these folks? What they have to say about everything.
Surface area was positive, and it was interesting. A lot of the questions that they were asking, but the one thing I want to make sure I get out there before I forget is the comments on our downtowns. And, Clinton, they were very impressed with the downtown. In fact, mentioned the word Hallmark movie associated with that downtown. And Farmer City also, the thing that they mentioned about it was very utilized, not as aesthetically pleasing, but very utilized, and that's a very important aspect to the community as well. But those were real positive comments about our downtown areas in the community.
Yeah.
So
and I tell you, in downtown Clinton, I mean, gosh, any point in a given weekday, downtown is the parking is a premium there.
It is. For sure it is. Yeah. And that's a good sign. That's a good sign for your downtown. There's no doubt about it.
Very good. Yeah.
But so they looked at, they wanted to know, not necessarily, single weekend events. Those weren't the types of things, but they wanted to know about recurring activities. They wanted to know about business activities. And it's interesting. Hotels typically fall in one of two areas. They're either busy during the week with business type travel, or they're busy on weekends with tourist or event happenings. And a hotel can survive on either one. And preferably both. But if it's a tourist activity, those events need to happen very, very consistently. So, so for Farmer City specifically, the advantage there is a major interstate goes right past it. As part of the wedding conversation, was really interesting. There were some folks there that had mentioned they've got kids, they're from the Chicago area. They've got some kids that are going to graduate from the University of Illinois next year. They are already booked out. The hotel rooms are already filled for next year's graduation a year in advance. And, so that really intensifies the need for a hotel in the surrounding areas of Champaign-Urbana as well.
Yeah,
So-
for sure. Well, and I'll tell you, Kurt, with the the reaction from those folks, it's got to be. We had this conversation before we got started. It's got to be one of those things where you're like, yeah, you know what? Downtown Clinton is really nice. I drive, you drive through there every day and you just kind of take for granted that stage that they've got set up and the clock and the water tower and all the things and the buildings.
It's a beautiful downtown and really DeWitt County overall. I've had the pleasure of going into nearby counties and really counties and other areas of similar size. And what I keep hearing, what we have here, while sometimes we see it every day, we get accustomed to it every day. We don't think it's anything special anymore.
Right,
It really is.
It really is. Yeah.
It really is. And there's so much beauty in this area, and we're really fortunate of that.
Sure. Kurt Homan is the executive director of the DeWitt County Development Council, our guest here in studio for today. Do you have a timeline on when you'll get back, the results of their study? And I don't know what they're looking for, what these results are going to show, or if there's going to be data points or whatever it comes out of it that you'll be interested in. So what does that look like? When does that happen? How about some of those things?
Yeah. So they're doing a lot of behind the scenes, the traffic patterns, the traffic counts, they've done business research. I just got they gave me some very specific businesses or organizations that they want me to send a very quick survey to talk about hotel usage and those types of things. So those will go out, I'll forward those on, most likely tomorrow. Many of those organizations will get that. And, but the report itself is 120, 150 pages. It's very, very detailed. It has all of the financial or the projected financial information that, again, a lender would need, an investor would need to make that decision. And it's probably, still 3 to 4 weeks away. They've done the preliminary work. We're still a little bit of time away, but I would say by the time we get together next month, there's a good chance that I'll have that report.
Gotcha. Very good. It should be interesting to see what comes out of that. And, again, I go back to Kurt, I don't like addressing what's on social media and all those things. But one of the things that just kind of grinds my gears that I see from time to time on our Facebook page and is, like folks say, well, no one's filling up our current hotels. Why do we need more? That's a common comment on our Facebook and our social media. How about that?
Yeah, I mean, and I guess I would address that, and it's pretty. I don't mean this but it's a very narrow thought, thinking process. To simply say, well, our current hotels are not filled up, so we would never fill up, another hotel. So, the real answer to that is people that want to stay at the current hotels are going to continue to do that, and we want them to do that. People that don't want to stay in the current hotels would rather have a chain or a newer spot or whatever it is, aren't staying here anyway. So those are the folks that we're going to attract and that we want to attract. And, you start doing the math, you start doing the math on the hotel. It probably, Clinton's will probably generate $600,000 to $900,000 a year in revenue from a tax perspective. So real estate taxes, hotel motel tax, and then some increase in sales tax, and that's pretty significant.
Right.
And we need to make sure this hotel study is really a very, very tiny investment to make sure that the hotel works and works for investors, works for the lender, and does what we want it to do.
Well, and I go back to a comment you made in our last interview, or it might have been the one before that. I'm not even positive, but a recent discussion we had where, we addressed this, and the comment was, well, Clinton doesn't need a hotel. And you said, well, my information says we actually do.
And we've gotten very good positive information. And then, and again, that wasn't just yesterday. I mean, so we vetted that information over and over and over again. We looked at potential investors. We've taken all the steps that we needed to do, and we're really at the point where we have to have the study. And I don't mind getting questioned, or I think that's very, very fair. But it is, I didn't just wake up one morning, or the county or cities or whatever didn't just wake up today and said, oh, we want. Be nice to have Disney World come here. Okay, sure it would, but how's that going to work? We figured out how it's going to work.
And I think the other thing, if I'm not mistaken, these developers came to you, right? Like, you weren't seeking this out, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I was seeking it out.
Oh, were you? Okay, I'm sorry.
This was a very active. Once the local business folks came to me and said, I started asking them, what do we need? What do we need? What do we need? They kept telling me hotel. We need hotel rooms. We need, a place for business travelers. And so then I actually went out to seek, okay, who would be interested in investing or funding this particular project. So that's how it happened.
And what kind of hotel are we talking about here? Are we talking about like a Motel 6 type of thing? Are we talking about like a Hilton of some sort? What are we talking about here?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely possibilities, and some of that is going to be based on what the hotel study says, and the number of rooms that the communities can justify. So certain hotel chains will, they have to have a certain number of rooms. But yeah, think along the lines of national chain and the mid to mid upper segment. So the the Marriott's, it's not going to be a Four Seasons, but it's not going to be a Motel 6 by any means. I mean, there's a mid to upper mid grade level hotel that these will be.
Sure. Anything else on that, sir?
I don't think so.
Very good. Very good. Kurt Holman, Executive Director of the DeWitt County Development Council, my guest in studio today. More to come with Kurt on the WHOW Morning Show.
WHOW.
Let's check the opening numbers now at the Chicago Board of Trade on this Monday. I'm Jim Taylor on the RFD Radio Network. Corn, beans, and Chicago wheat all starting the day lower. July corn opening 409 1/4, down 3 1/2. September corn down 3 3/4, 417, and December corn 436 1/4, down 4. July beans starting the day down 8, 1105 1/2. August beans down 8 1/4, 1110 1/2. And November beans 1123 1/2, down 8 1/2. July Chicago wheat 574 1/4, down 10 1/4. July KC wheat is down a dime, 624 1/2. July bean meal 301.80, up 50 cents. July bean oil 72.62, down $1.66. Energy market August Brent crude oil down $4, 83.33. RFD Radio Network.
This is Inside.
Looking for a new Silverado? This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick here in Clinton. We have a good selection of new Silverado inventory. We have Silverados in 1500s, 2500s, and 3500s with several trim levels, custom, LT, RST, LTZ, and yes, even high countries. All our inventory is priced for our summer savings season. Baum Chevrolet Buick. Together, let's drive. BaumChevroletBuick.com, right from the start.
Here's Matt Hart, owner of the Hart Media Group in Clinton, talking about continuing to serve the community through new ownership.
things came together, and we reached an agreement to purchase. And as you mentioned, we closed August the 1st. So as August the 1st, Miller Media Group is now Hart Media Group, and we're continuing to serve the people of Clinton and DeWitt County and Monticello and Bloomington and Decatur and everywhere, because we'll just keep connecting people as we've been doing.
The Hart Media Group looks forward to continuing to serve the community for years to come.
You're listening to a best of segment of the WHOW Morning Show, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Again, this is a best of the WHOW Morning Show.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Once again, a good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. My guest in studio today is Kurt Homan, Executive Director of the DeWitt County Development Council. Kurt, we were talking about big things on the kind of folks talking about in the community. Of course, hotels, housing. Big one across not only DeWitt County, but really Illinois, across the state, is data centers. I know there's been some back and forth with yourself and folks on social media about this. Does the DCDC, quote unquote, take a stance on data centers? Do you have is this something that the DCDC favors? I don't know. Where does the DCDC fall on this issue?
Yeah. So I will tell you, I've received at least one call, about a proposed data center. I passed that information, on to the county board. It's such a bigger issue than DCDC that really it needs to be at least handled or addressed.
Yeah.
In that area. But it's a big. They're popping up everywhere. So if if anyone follows the stock market or national news or those types of things, the reason that the stock market has continued to boom is because of artificial intelligence and data center builds. Okay. So if we think, and this is a nationwide level, if we think data centers aren't going to be built somewhere, we're fooling ourselves. So it is such a financial boom for companies, and so they are very actively searching for build locations. And it is interesting, the technology, a lot of the comments I see on social media, well, the technology will improve, and I agree with that, but it already has. So there's already a lot of variance in those things.
What do you mean by the technology has improved?
So I think some of the arguments against data centers are water usage. I think there's some noise, they oftentimes are built where maybe there was farm ground that was there. And, my understanding, I've researched and I've seen places that, there's a high water usage. Then I've also researched places that, a data center uses less water on an annual basis than an 18-hole golf course. So, there's closed loop systems, very much like the nuclear power plant. The lake is there as a cooling. Well, it's not diverting water necessarily. It's just using that as a cooling system.
Right.
So I think there's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of misinformation out there. There's probably things we haven't even thought about, with data centers, but DCDC does not, we work with whatever the community gives us to work with. And that's where we go, but we don't have,
You're not recruiting data centers.
Oh, absolutely. No, I'm absolutely not recruiting data centers. I would advise, I would advise the conversations, to sit down and what I'm really concerned about is losing local control over what happens with data centers. Right. So, the state of Illinois is really like a drug addict. It needs financial resources. And if the state of Illinois steps in and says, a data center may say, we have $30 million to allocate to the local community. If the state of Illinois comes in and negotiates those deals, they're going to take $29.5 million of that $30 million. DeWitt County or other areas will have the data center there. They'll have no say on what type of data center it is, what type of are they using that closed loop facility? Are they where
You
they
lose
can
that
be
say in
located?
the process.
You lose that say, and then you also lose a big substantial financial benefit. Of
And
it.
that's the big concern with that. And I know off the air we talked about it. You don't know a whole lot about it, and I don't know the ins and outs, the intimate ins and outs of it either. But I know with the Bears, folks watching the Bears progress and trying to keep them in Chicago, this whole mega project, kind of tax break, if you will, to incentivize them. The concern is then that trickles down into solar development, wind development, into data center development, and that local economy loses out on those dollars because then these developers can dub themselves a mega project.
Correct.
So,
And if you're forced to have the negative impacts of any of those projects, you ought to at least get some of the positive impacts with some of the financial resources that come along with that. But if the state steps in and says, no, you're going to have all of the negative impact, and the state of Illinois is going to keep all of the positive impact. That is a no-win situation for every area.
I don't see that becoming an issue, the over-the-top regulation becoming an issue this year because it's an election year. And I think there's enough people both sides of the spectrum.
But it is coming.
Agreed. Yeah.
It is coming.
For sure. On the topic of data centers, and I totally lost where I was going to go with that, Kurt, so forgive me. But I've got a minute left. Anything else on that conversation you want to put out there? I mean,
No, I don't. I mean, I don't. Like I said, we don't have an official stance. Just a personal belief is, if you're going to have a conversation, make sure you get all, meaning from a government perspective, make sure you have all the details, know all the pros and cons going in, and then you can make an intelligent decision. Again, while we have local control, if something ends up being negotiated, it needs to be very advantageous to the local communities for sure.
Very good. Well, quickly, 30 seconds. Just give us an update. I know the grant process is underway. What's going on there?
Yeah. So all our grant presenters did present. We have we'll have our official decision here later this week, and we'll be getting back to the winners at that point. And that went really well. Great applicants, and looking forward to doing it again sometime next year.
Very good.
So,
Kurt, how do folks follow all things DCDC?
follow us on Facebook, DeWitt County Development Council. Reach out anytime, 217-935-5271.
Very good. Kurt Homan, Executive Director of the DeWitt County Development Council, my guest in studio here for this morning. Again, the morning show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance.
WHOW.
The Big 1520 WHOW Clinton, along with 92.3 FM Clinton and 106.5 FM Bloomington Normal.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. Friday may bring the signing of a preliminary deal between the U.S. and Iran. This memorandum of understanding announced by President Trump. The BBC's Gary O'Donoghue says there are a number of key loose ends that have yet to be tied up.
The deal, while crucial, is just a beginning. It will kick off a period of 60 days, during which the US and Iran will have to agree on how to destroy and remove Iran's nuclear material. That in itself could easily falter. The exact status of the Strait of Hormuz is also something over which divergent views are still apparent. And the timing of sanctions relief and the unfreezing of Iranian assets is still not consistent between both parties.
And word of the deal comes as the G7 summit gets underway in Europe.
Top of the list of priorities for G7 nations is reopening the Strait of Hormuz so that oil and gas from the Persian Gulf can flow out again to world markets. France and Britain have a proposal to help with that. They are offering warships that could help escort tankers through the strait and also get rid of any mines. That proposal is expected to be discussed as part of wider talks on the Middle East, both at a leaders' dinner that kicks off the G7 this evening and through the next 3 days of talks to Wednesday.
That's correspondent John Lester. Crude prices have tumbled since the agreement was announced. And today's AAA national average for a gallon of gas, $4.06. That is down a penny from yesterday. It's down 46 cents from a month ago. The latest Russian attack on Ukraine killed 11 people, more than 50 others wounded. The assault also damaging a renowned religious site in Kiev. And watching Wall Street, the Dow futures are up 532 points, gain of 1%. NASDAQ futures 613 points, that's a gain of 2%. More on these stories, townhall.com.
When you're vacationing in your RV, there are some things you can always count on. Taking the kayaks out on the lake, hot dogs on the grill, and your sister's boyfriend pulling out his acoustic guitar.
Everyone quiet! Harrison's playing. Wow, you're so good, Harrison.
With Progressive, your RV is protected 24/7, so you're prepared for whatever you don't see coming. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in D.C.
The military, the mission was clear. You knew what to do. Now, the mission has changed. Stepping into civilian life isn't about finding a job. It's finding your purpose.
I wanted a career that would leverage the skills and discipline I gained in the military. IT just felt right.
My Computer Career offers class schedules that fit into your life and skills in high demand. Put your VA benefits to work. Visit mycomputercareer.edu/CWP to jumpstart your IT career today. An elite CompTIA certification partner. Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
Mayhem mars New York City's celebration of the Knicks' first NBA championship in more than 50 years.
Chaos and violence across New York City Saturday night, with police making at least 63 arrests. In Midtown Manhattan, rowdy fans were smashing windows on police cars, climbing scaffolding, light poles, and even trying to hitch a ride on a moving fire truck. Police say they lit several buses on fire that were being used to transport people from Manhattan to MetLife Stadium for the World Cup games. In Times Square, one person was shot and had to be taken by police car to the hospital because the ambulance could not get through. At least 4 people were stabbed or slashed in the mayhem. Julie Walker, New York.
Swiss voters have rejected a proposal to cap the country's population at 10 million. The initiative, seen as a move against migration, was backed by the right-wing Swiss People's Party. News and analysis, townhall.com. Lord Stanley's Cup heading back to North Carolina for the first time in 2 decades.
The Carolina Hurricanes won their second Stanley Cup championship and first in 20 years on Sunday night, shutting down the Vegas Golden Knights 3-0 in Game 6 of the Cup final. Brandon Bussey, whose entrance late into Game 3 helped turn the series around, recorded his first career playoff shutout in stopping 22 shots. Taylor Hall scored just .347 into the game to set the tone. 37-year-old Jordan Stahl scored 6 of his 8 playoff goals in the Cup final to take home the Conn Smythe Trophy as playoff MVP. He's the oldest player to do so in NHL history. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
President Trump has celebrated his 80th birthday with a UFC cage fighting event on the White House lawn. The event featuring 7 fights and thousands of spectators. More on these stories, townhall.com.
This is staff meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki with your regional radio forecast. Daytime highs approaching 76. Today, under mainly sunny skies, westerly winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Mainly clear skies. Tonight, lows level off around 55. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times. Tomorrow, storms likely, high of 75. Hear weather twice an hour or online anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com. Currently 66.
MR Systems Wireless is your local internet provider for Clinton and surrounding area. They have the products you want and the local service you deserve. MR Systems Wireless Internet service for home or business includes unlimited data, unlimited streaming, and unlimited calling. Plans start at just $48 a month and get a free Roku 4 lease with our media packages. Get the speed you need with MR Systems Wireless. Call them at 935-2100. That's 935-2100 for MR Systems Wireless.
It's never too early to start thinking about back-to-school preparations. Part of getting your kids ready for the new school year means making sure they're healthy. SIU Center for Family Medicine is here to help with back-to-school and sports physicals. Healthy kids learn better and play harder. Call 217-735-2317 today to schedule your appointment. That's 217-735-2317. SIU Medicine. Forward for you.
Here's Clinton Save-A-Lot owner Dave Jackson on how he works to save you money every day.
I know the retails at the stores in Decatur probably better than most of the people in the stores know. I monitor this closely so customers do not have to. And then you don't have to spend $40 or $30 driving round trip at 60 cents a mile to Decatur or Lincoln or Bloomington. That's real numbers. It's 60, 70 cents a mile to drive your car.
And as Clinton Save-A-Lot owner Dave Jackson always says,
hope to see you soon.
DeWittDailyNews.com is the area's leading local news source 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the latest local news, obituaries, police blotter, weather forecast, and more with no paywall. Head to DeWittDailyNews.com to get the local information you need to know.
Netflix buffering, YouTube spinning, devices not connecting, Zoom calls dropping. It's frustrating. Let's end your frustration by signing up for fiber internet in Clinton. Click the Connexus icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
The Illinois Emergency Management Agency has designated WHOW's many platforms on AM and FM, as well as WEZC 95.9 FM, as standby radio stations for emergency messages to be sent for severe weather, as well as for the Clinton Power Station. We also have a direct link to the National Weather Service for watches or warnings to air immediately when they're issued. Keep yourself and your family safe by tuning into the WHOW platforms on AM, FM, or streamed online, as well as on WEZC 95.9 FM.
You're listening to a best of segment of the WHOW Morning Show, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Again, this is a best of the WHOW Morning Show.
Your friend in Central Illinois. WHOW.
It's the WHOW Morning Show. I'm your host today, Ben Hubbard. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. And if there ever was a regular interview that you should tune into the stream for, it is this one, as we have Heather Purdue in today with the Scoville Zoo, and she's brought a couple of friends along with her today. Heather, let's just start with, how are you doing?
Doing well. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm sure you guys have been really, really busy with all the nice weather, right?
We have. We got through our field trip seasons because school is, out for the summer, and that always goes really well. And so it's kind of nice once you get to the end of the school bus season. But the kids they always tell us it's their favorite day of the school year. So we're always happy to see them there at the zoo.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, while we're talking about kids,
yeah,
we got to jump into our friends here, which is a couple of baby goats. And they were being so well behaved before we started, and now you're having to dodge them in front of the mic.
Yeah, they're getting a little bit more comfortable now, but we do. We have our first baby goats of the season, and this one keeps getting my face. We had triplets that were born, so these guys are a little over a week old now, and we did a kind of a fun Facebook post earlier this week where we ran a poll, and every season we always have baby goats, and the keepers always want a theme for naming the baby goats. And so we did a poll for our followers to vote on what that theme was going to be this year. And so they had the choices of cereal, types of cheese, and board games, and cereals did win.
That's awesome.
And like I said, these were our triplets. I only brought two. I did leave one back at the zoo with Mom. And so I have here Toast, which is the darker one, and then Crunch. Cinnamon is back at the zoo.
That's so cute.
These are the two girls, and then their brother is Cinnamon, who is back at the zoo. So you can see they are pretty laid back. These are Nigerian dwarf breeds of goats, and they're a very common domesticated species of goat.
Sure.
That you will see a lot of people have as pets. I mean, they're a small breed. The females usually weigh around, on average, about 50 pounds. So even though these are super cute, everybody wants to take them home, they will get big. And so I always have to remind, just like when you take a puppy home, the puppy or the kitten, they're going to grow up to be adults, but they are super cute. And they're pretty personable. I mean, they work out really well in our contact area at the zoo, where people can come and feed them. They can brush the goats, and they love that interaction that they can have with them. And you can see, I mean, these guys are really laid back right now. I don't know if they're just, they're already getting so used to people,
Yeah.
just being born out there and being around people every day. They just make them, really friendly. And you can see I'm just kind of giving them a lot of little scratches. Toast is a little bit darker. She's got like the black kind of coloration along her shoulders here and a little bit lighter color here towards the rear, but the little speckles on her ears, the black and white speckles. And then Crunch is lighter color with more white and just a little bit of black. And then Cinnamon is a brown, more of a brown color. So they come in a lot of different color variations. And we love it when it's pretty obvious, which is which.
Yeah, right, definitely.
Easier to identify them that way.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about taking care of these guys. When I was a camp counselor, we actually had a little farm on property, had a baby cow, and had some baby goats as well that were not as well behaved and standing still as these ones.
Yeah. So taking care, like, especially when they're kids, these guys are obviously still nursing off a mom. The children that come through the zoo, they always want to feed the baby goats, but we always have to remind them right now they're still nursing off a mom.
Yeah.
But the mom's probably hungry, so we always encourage them to feed the mom.
Uh-huh.
But as they get bigger, they will get a little bit. I don't want to say naughtier, but they'll explore more.
Yeah.
And the keepers, as they start getting bigger and heavier, they'll start doing things where they'll jump in the wheelbarrows and dump the wheelbarrows for the keepers. And so they definitely have little ornery personalities as they get bigger. As far as taking care of goats, obviously we have to make sure we give them good quality hay. And that's pretty much their basic diet is hay. They do get the little petting zoo food that guests can feed them. And then we also try to give them lots of browse. So if anyone ever had goats on their property, they know they'll eat a lot of different leaves. And, some people will use them to actually clean out, maybe some abandoned areas or just to help weed, the property. And these guys are great at that. They will choose certain plants that they like to eat. Not everything is tasty, so you still may have to go in there and get rid of some of those plants that these guys choose not to eat. But for the most part, they're really great at eating. And obviously, when they're eating, there's a lot of cleaning up you have to do, and that's a pretty much of a constant thing. I always tell people when they see me in there, cleaning up, it's job security because they're always going. So
yeah, absolutely. So I feel like when you think about the zoo, you think about the monkeys and the cheetahs and the penguins and things like that. Tell me a little bit about why it's important to have these livestock animals, not just these guys, but all the ones that you guys have at the Scoville Zoo.
Right. I mean, when you think of a zoo, you think of the more exotic animals. And it's very important for us to have those because not everyone will be able to go to Africa or South America and see those animals in the wild. And, we're teaching a lot about the ecosystems and, environmental and conservation. And so it's great to have like spider monkeys and stuff like that. But it's also important to have, why animals are important to the livelihood of humans. And, a lot of people, raising livestock is part of their, their way of life. And so, and we have, I grew up kind of in a rural area, so I did have cows next door. And so I was pretty much exposed to that, but not everybody is. And so, and like I said, it's easier, to when you're engaging with animals, you develop that love. Your first love for animals may be goats and pigs and dogs and stuff. And that's why those animals are important. And hopefully it will develop that love into all animals.
Gotcha. It kind of makes me think of, I feel like when you're driving down the highway and you see the livestock out on the farm, you think of it almost as, that is a commodity. That is the property of that farmer. He is, using that for business, but seeing them at the zoo, it kind of gives you that extra realization that these are animals and they are really important to the economy, especially right here at home, but it's bigger than that, right?
Right. And, we teach, for like example, cheetah conservation. Cheetahs will hunt during the daytime hours. And there are a lot of ranchers and, losing livestock to cheetahs, like you said, is a commodity. And so that they don't want to lose livestock to these animals. So then, they will find ways of getting rid of those cheetahs, which may be killing the cheetahs. So it's coming up with different ways that we can protect those animals and the farmers and the ranchers their lives there, with raising cattle or whatever hoof stock it may be, and also saving the cheetahs. So it's coming up with ways either, we reimburse the farmer if they lose some of their livestock, or having guard dogs to help protect that, providing the farmers with that. And it's so we can live side by side. The cheetahs can still hunt and do what they need to do, but the farmers can still make a living and do what they need to do.
Absolutely.
Coming up with that balance.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you had mentioned that with these baby goats here, they are a part of a set of triplets, and you guys have baby goats every year. And I'm curious about, these animals in the reproduction program, and why are you guys like breeding baby goats and things like that?
Yeah, we still, it's people when they come to the zoo now, they do expect to see baby goats, and we love having them because we love for people to see them growing up through the season. Obviously we can't keep all the baby goats that we have every year. So a lot of times we're able to find homes for them either at other zoos, or again, we're in a pretty rural community here, and these guys are so friendly. They do make good additions to people's farms around here. So we usually don't have any problems with finding homes for them. But it is important, it's showing people the circle of life a little bit. Our goats, they live on average around 10 years. And so like right now we have a couple of ones that are 10 and they're getting arthritis medicine and stuff. And we want to make sure that we continue to have goats. So, every couple of years we'll keep 1 or 2 baby goats. And as they grow, we plan how we breed the goats. So we know that the moms are going to be pregnant for about 5 months. So we always plan which goats we're going to breed and when we're going to start breeding them. I mean, it is a process. It's not just letting the male out and let's see what happens, because we would have goats year round. So that's why the buck goat is always separated. But yeah, there's definitely a management process to even just breeding our goats. We don't want to get too many, because then, what if we can't find homes for them? But we also want to have usually more than just one set, and so we'll breed. I think this last year we bred 5 to 6, but we only think 50% of them were actually pregnant. So you always know there's going to be a few that don't conceive for whatever reason.
Gotcha. Well, as I'm looking at my screen here and I'm staring at these guys on the stream, and I'm sure people, if you can't see it on the stream, have seen a picture of a goat's eye before. But that's always something that's interesting, right? They kind of had that sideways pupil almost. And what do you know about that? Why do goats have eyes like that, and how does that benefit them?
They, a lot of this is always like speculation and hypothesis of what it. But yeah, they're found. These guys are an African species of goat, and they're out where it's very sunny. It could be somewhat scrubby and arid. And so as they're looking through the horizon, it's to help with the sun glare as it's coming, through, and just kind of balancing that out. So, but yeah, that's a question, because a lot of people do notice that their pupils are different. They're horizontal rather than kind of the round pupils that we all have.
Yeah, gotcha. Well, if we keep talking about goats, I think I'm going to have to bring up Michael Jordan or something. So any other things on our baby goat friends here that we missed today, Heather?
I don't think so. I think it's just, like I said, they do have a lot of personality. Somebody was telling me the other day how their parent was a U.S. postal worker, and they would go to some of these rural houses, and then the goats would jump in their trucks. And I mean, it's just, it's funny. You think of dogs running up to it, but you don't think about goats jumping into them. But like just being the little ornery selves they are, you always love, and people love. And especially in the evenings, when it's hot during the day, they're usually kind of hanging out. But these guys will be jumping off of rocks. They have great balance because they would be on rocks. And so they can jump from one rock to another. And it's just funny seeing them basically kicking their heels as they're running around the zoo in the contact area in the evenings.
Have you guys ever thought about doing goat yoga?
I see a lot of other people do that. We have thought about it. I think it's just having a good place to do that.
For sure. That's kind of a dirty area.
It's kind of a dirty area. And I don't think I would want to do yoga there, but I just envision these guys. I don't know. I just envision it being kind of dirty because, like I said, they eat a lot, but they also poop a lot. So I don't know, but I think it's a lot of people do really love it. So
Yeah.
maybe it's something we need to consider.
Well, you make a good point. Heather. Let's take a quick break as I look at the clock. More to come with Heather Purdue with the Scoville Zoo Indicator on the WHOW Morning Show.
WHOW.
AgriTalk is the radio talk show for American agriculture. Hi, everybody. I'm Chip Flory, your host. We join you weekday mornings from 10 until 11 on WHOW, on AM and FM, and on the WHOW streams. We provide farmers and ranchers with timely insights and information aimed at improving their operations. Join me, Chip Flory, weekdays at 10:06 on Central Illinois Ag Station, WHOW.
Hey, it's Shane from Highway 51 Exchange, your mower and equipment service pros just south of Clinton. Click our banner ad on DeWittDailyNews.com or give us a call to schedule your free pickup and delivery today. Highway 51 Exchange.
Longview Community Bank is now open in Clinton, investing in rural Illinois. I'm Vice President Nate Sams. Stop by for a visit or to find out how we provide real local banking. Click our banner ad at the top of the local news page on DeWittDailyNews.com.
Looking for a new Silverado? This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick here in Clinton. We have a good selection of new Silverado inventory. We have Silverados in 1500s, 2500s, and 3500s with several trim levels, custom, LT, RST, LTZ, and yes, even high countries. All our inventory is priced for our summer savings season. Baum Chevrolet Buick. Together, let's drive. BaumChevroletBuick.com right from the start.
DeWitt County's #1 source for local news is on the air and online 24 hours a day. The latest local news stories are heard every hour on Central Illinois' news station, the Big 1520 AM and 92.3 FM WHOW. Stream live at DeWittDailyNews.com. They're also heard every hour on the station that's your easy choice, 95.9 FM WEZC. And to read the latest local news on your electronic device, including tablets, iPhones, and smartphones, go to DeWittDailyNews.com. DeWitt County's #1 source for local news is on the air, online 24 hours a day.
You're listening to a best of segment of the WHOW Morning Show, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Again, this is a best of the WHOW Morning Show.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
It's the WHOW Morning Show. I'm your host today, Ben Hubbard. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. We continue with my guest in studio in this segment, Heather Purdue with the Scoville Zoo Indicator. And like we mentioned at the top, the summer heat is here, and that means so are your summer hours.
Yeah, starting Memorial Day weekend, we went to our summer hours, which the weekends, it doesn't ever change. We always close at 5 o'clock and the zoo grounds will close at 6. But now that's also the same during the week. So people can get into the zoo until 5, and then the zoo grounds will close at 6. And we open every morning at 9:30.
Do you feel like right when you change the hours, it takes people a little while to kind of realize that you guys are open a little later, or is it always busy?
Yeah, probably a little bit, just because it is a little bit getting used to. And especially it seemed like this year Memorial Day was a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
And so I felt like there was like a whole nother week where, we had changed our summer hours, but there were still some schools. We had some schools that came in that last week. And so it didn't really officially feel like summer even for us yet, but now it does. And so we're open every day, and we've been pretty busy. The weather's been really beautiful, and so it's been really nice.
Well, a part of those summer hours is doing free admission Thursdays now.
Yeah, so we don't have we have the free admission Mondays in April, and then we don't do a free admission day in May just because we have so many school groups that are there every day. It would just be so hard for us to be able to accommodate everyone. But then starting in June, we have free admission Thursdays, and those will be every Thursday through the rest of our season. So our last free admission Thursday would be on October 8th.
That calendar is so tiny.
Yeah.
It's hard to read.
October 8th, because and I think that's nice because even when kids go back to school. We still have some groups that will come in on the free admission Thursdays, which they're welcome to do. Or maybe some parents who have toddlers, the kids will go to school and then they have the opportunity to maybe just take their toddler to the zoo at that time on those free admission days.
Are there any other parts of like free admission days? Like, do you guys try and do anything special that you offer people on those days?
Not really, just because
it's free.
It's free.
That's enough, right?
And we always do let people know that, there's an additional charge for the train or the carousel.
Yep.
But then some people are able to afford that because, they had the free admission coming in. So okay, I do have money then that we can do a couple of carousel rides or train rides for everyone, or maybe buy a snow cone in the concession stand. So we had our first free admission Thursday yesterday, and I know we had over 2,000 people that came in. So it was a very successful first free admission Thursday. And like I said, it's always pretty busy. We had some people that showed, I was kind of helping with parking at one point during the day, and there were people, they're like, what's going on? Like, they had no idea it was free admission Thursday. And so then I had to tell them, like, it was a bonus for them, but I think they had no idea there was going to be that many people there.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned the train. I just got to throw out there, my first time I think ever going to the zoo, I was a little skeptical of the train. Just might be for somebody younger than myself, but I went on it when I came for the sip and stroll, and it was super fun, super worth it.
Yes. So. Yeah. It's especially since we had that train extension. It's been a few years now, but not everyone has still been on it since then. They still remember our old train ride, which we do during Boo at the Zoo, just because we have so many people, and the train ride almost doubled in duration. And so we're unable to do the extended one during Boo at the Zoo. However, if you have not been on it and you come to the zoo, it's beautiful. You get to see, you have a beautiful vantage point of the lake. It'll be really interesting. The boat races are going on this weekend, so it's kind of fun.
Oh, that's going to be so cool.
Yeah, you're driving the train and then you see the boats racing. It's kind of neat. Doing that.
Yeah, I'm so sad that I'm going to miss that. I'm not going to be able to go this weekend. Dang it. That's super cool. Well, while we're talking about free days, we have Father's Day coming up just around the corner, and that whole weekend, fathers are going to be free at the zoo.
Yeah, please, have your families come out. All dads are free that weekend coming in. And then we have on Saturday, the 20th, we have a special event. We had muffins with moms for Mother's Day weekend, but we have donuts with dads on that Saturday. You get an early admission into the zoo at 8:30. It is $10 a person, but dads are free for this event as well. And we'll have some donuts, coffee, maybe some juice boxes for the kids. And we'll do a couple little presentations during that time. And then, like I said, you're able to get into the zoo a little bit earlier. Usually when we have any kind of free admission on a weekend, it's a little bit busier. So if you kind of want to beat the crowds a little bit, you can come in early and do that and enjoy some donuts while you're there.
Yeah. I got to ask where the donuts are from.
Right now I haven't decided. Maybe the Yummy Donuts again.
Okay, nice.
We went there for our breakfast with the Easter Bunny. It was something new. I tried to try different local, businesses, and they were pretty good. So maybe we'll try them again.
Absolutely. Well, I've got just about 30 seconds here. Where is the best place for everyone to keep up with all the things that are happening at the Scoville Zoo?
You can check our website at scovillezoo.com, and we're pretty active on our Facebook and Instagram pages, and you can find out the newest news, learn things about like goat naming or any other special events that are coming up on those Facebook and Instagram pages.
Yeah, you got to keep an eye on it for next year once the next round of baby goat names comes around.
Absolutely.
Again, that is Heather Purdue, Executive Director of the Scoville Zoo in Decatur on the WHOW Morning Show.
WHOW.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. Friday is the day, Switzerland the place. A preliminary U.S.-Iran peace agreement expected